In a land where dreams are born from dust and sweat, one family dared to believe that education would change everything. From the red roads of Asempa to the crowded streets of Accra, their son carried not just a degree but a promise to lift his family from struggle, to rewrite their story. But what happens when the world that once cheered your name suddenly forgets you exist? This is Kwame's story, and it begins where hope and heartbreak walk the same road. In the quiet town of Asempa, where red dust danced with the wind and every neighbor knew the other's story, the Boadi family carried one precious dream: their son Kwame. From his childhood days, Kwame was known as the boy who would change the family's destiny. His father, Mr. Boadi, had once been a cocoa farmer, but old age and sickness had bent his back and dried his fields. His mother, Mama Fua, sold tomatoes at the market, sweating under the scorching sun each day. Yet she would always smile and say, "I'm doing this for Kwame." When Kwame gained admission to the university to study doctor in Medilab, the entire community celebrated. Old women danced, the youth beat drums, and even the local pastor said, "God has remembered the Boadis. Their son will wear a white coat and save lives." The parents sold their last plot of land to pay his fees. His mother pawned her jewelry. "It will all be worth it," she said. And Kwame promised, "One day, I'll make you proud." University life wasn't easy, but Kwame worked hard. He spent long nights studying anatomy, laboratory diagnostics, and patient care. When he graduated in 2019, the church bells rang again. Everyone gathered to see him in his gown. Even children called him Dr. Kwame. But after the celebrations faded, reality crept in. Months passed, then a year, then two. No job, no posting, no call. The government kept announcing clearance for new health workers, but Kwame's category was always left out. Each time he heard that nurses or doctors were being recruited, his heart sank. At home, his father would ask carefully, "Kwame, any news from the ministry?" Kwame would shake his head and force a smile. But at night, he would stare at the ceiling, whispering, "Why me, Lord? Why us?" His mother started taking goods on credit at the market. His siblings dropped hints, "Brother, school fees are due." The family that once looked to him with pride now looked at him with quiet worrying. He tried to start a small business with the little savings from his national service allowance. He opened a provision shop, hoping to at least earn something. But the demand from home was too much: electricity, rent, food, medicines for his sick father, and soon the shop collapsed. Kwame walked the streets of Accra, CV in hand, moving from hospital to hospital, only to hear, "We are not employed now." He wrote letters to the ministry, joined online petitions, even prayed at all-night services. Yet nothing changed. The boys he grew up with, the ones who dropped out to learn handiwork, were now mechanics and masons. They laughed at him. "So, Mr. Graduate, any surgery today?" they mocked. Kwame smiled weakly, pretending not to hear. But every word pierced his soul. He began to feel invisible, a man educated enough to heal others, but helpless to heal his own pain. Still, he held on. "Maybe next year," he told himself. "Maybe the government will remember us." But deep down, he knew hope in Ghana was expensive, and patience did not always pay. Days turned into months, and months slipped into years. The rhythm of disappointment became Kwame's silent song. Every announcement from the Ministry of Health became a source of pain instead of hope. When the radio stations reported that a new batch of health workers had been cleared, Kwame's heart would leap only to crash when he discovered his category, the allied health professionals, was once again left behind. Clearance for nurses, doctors, midwives, the news would say, but no mention of people like him. At home, life was tightening like a rope around his neck. His father's health was failing, and the medicines he needed grew more expensive. His mother's small tomato business no longer made profit. Prices were rising. Customers were fewer, and debts were piling up. Kwame tried to hide his frustration, but it showed in his eyes. Every day, when neighbors passed by their compound, someone would ask, "Yeah, Kwame, you're still at home." Another would add, but didn't you finish university long ago?" Some said it out of curiosity. Others said it to mock. But they all felt the same sting. His friends who became artisans now lived comfortably. Kojo the welder had married and built a single-room house. Ya the mason had a motorbike and wore fine slippers. And Kwame, the graduate, still begged his mother for transport fare. Sometimes, when he walked through town, little children would whisper, "There goes the man who studied plenty but has no job." He pretended not to hear, but inside, he felt like screaming. One Sunday afternoon, while the family sat around a bowl of banku, his father spoke softly. "Kwame, my son, I know you are trying, but this house is sinking. Your mother's business is dying. If you could even find something small to do anything. Kwame swallowed hard. Papa, I've tried. You know I've applied everywhere. I know, his father said, eyes wet. But Ghana has turned its back on people like you. They only help those with long legs. He was right. Kwame knew how the system worked. Every year, he saw people with connections, sons and daughters of politicians, get jobs instantly, while those without links waited endlessly. Sometimes he would hear, if you know someone at the ministry, you'll be posted next month. He didn't know anyone. He had only his certificates, his prayers, and his patience. As the frustration deepened, he stopped attending church. He couldn't stand hearing preachers say, "Your miracle is near." 5 years had passed, and that miracle never came. One night, he sat outside alone, watching the stars. The generator hums from nearby houses filled the air. He thought of leaving Ghana, joining those who risked everything to start life abroad. At least, he thought, there, effort counts. But he had no visa, no savings, no one to help him. He closed his eyes and whispered, "I'm not lazy. I'm just tired." Somewhere in the distance, a political rally echoed through a loudspeaker. The crowd was cheering, and the candidate was promising jobs for the youth. Kwame laughed bitterly. He had heard it all before. "Promises are cheap," he said under his breath, "but hunger is expensive." By the 5th year of waiting, Kwame's dreams had begun to rot like forgotten fruit. The certificates that once hung proudly on his bedroom wall were now tucked away in a dusty envelope, hidden under his bed. Each time he looked at them, he felt both pride and pain, pride for what he had achieved, and pain for what it had become. A paper without purpose. The year was 2024, and the government had just released another batch of recruitment for health workers. The news spread quickly through social media and radio. Everyone was excited, especially in the WhatsApp group of unemployed allied health professionals. Messages were flooding in. Greater than, "Guys, have you seen the new clearance list? They've employed new nurses again." Allied health, "Nothing yet, oh, we're still pending." Kwame stared at the screen in silence. His chest tightened. He felt as if the whole world was moving while he remained stuck in the same place. He logged off and sat quietly on his wooden chair, thinking. Around him, his home was changing, not for the better. His younger sister had dropped out of SHS because of unpaid fees. His father's cough had worsened. The roof leaked whenever it rained, and there was no money to fix it. That evening, when his mother returned from the market, she looked defeated. Her tomatoes had spoiled in the sun, and she had made a loss. She didn't speak much, just sighed heavily and said, "Kwame, maybe you should go and learn some handiwork. People are surviving with that now." Kwame forced a smile, but her words tore through him like a knife. After all those years of education, sleepless nights, and sacrifices, was this how it would end? The next morning, he decided to attend a protest being organized in Accra by the Coalition of Unemployed, Allied Health Professionals. They were gathering at the Independence Square to demand postings. Kwame joined hundreds of young men and women like himself, all wearing white shirts, holding placards that read, "We are trained to save lives, not to waste ours. 5 years without posting, are we invisible? Our certificates are crying for jobs." As they marched through the streets, cars honked and people watched from afar. Some clapped in support, but others mocked them. A trotro driver shouted, "Go and learn carpentry. That one no need clearance." The passengers laughed. Kwame felt a lump rise in his throat. He looked around at his fellow graduates, some holding degrees, some with masters, all sweating under the sun, chanting for the government to hear their cry. At the ministry's gate, the police stopped them. The officers looked away, pretending not to hear their pleas. "We're just following orders," one said coldly. Hours later, the crowd dispersed. Nothing changed. No minister came out. No promise was made. Just silence again. That night, Kwame returned home exhausted. His mother looked at him with pity and asked, "Did they say anything?" He shook his head. She didn't ask again. His unfulfilled promises, his wasted years. Tears rolled down his face. He whispered to himself, "Maybe Ghana doesn't need people like me." He thought of traveling, of escaping the endless waiting. But even that dream seemed far. He was trapped not just by poverty, but by a country that had turned its back on him. And as the night deepened, one thought echoed in his mind. When a nation ignores its youth, it plants the seeds of its own destructions. Broken dreams, fading hope, the night swallowed the city. But Kwame Boadi couldn't sleep. His mind replayed the chants, the heat, the laughter of strangers who mocked his struggle. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. A storm was coming. He rose from his bed and looked out the window. Somewhere beyond the dark clouds, he imagined a place where effort still meant something, where dreams weren't buried beneath government neglect. Then his phone buzzed, one unread message from an unknown number. The preview only showed 3 words, "Meet me tomorrow." Kwame's heart raced. He stared at the screen, unsure whether it was hope or another cruel trick of fate. The storm broke, rain pounding the roof, and for the first time in years, a flicker of possibility returned to his eyes. To be continued. The days after the protest were quiet, too quiet. Kwame woke up each morning with no reason to leave his bed. The rooster crowed, the sun rose, but his spirit remained heavy. His phone lay silent. No job calls, no messages of hope, only notifications about price increases, power outages, and new taxes. He began to feel like a shadow in his own home. His father spoke less and coughed more. His mother tried to stay cheerful, but her eyes betrayed her sadness. The little savings they once had were gone. Even buying gari had become a struggle. One afternoon, while walking through the market to help his mother carry goods, he overheard 2 women whispering, "That's the boy who went to university, but still sits at home. Yeah, after all that schooling. What a pity." Kwame lowered his head and kept walking. Shame had become his silent companion. At home, his siblings were growing restless. His younger brother, Kofi, who had once admired him, now avoided him. "If schooling doesn't bring money," Kofi said one day, "then I won't waste my time in SHS." Those words pierced Kwame's heart. He had become the example of failure, the proof that education no longer guaranteed a future. Meanwhile, news kept coming in, new batches of workers being cleared, new jobs being shared. But it was always the same story. Those with connections got through. Those without remained forgotten. Kwame saw it everywhere, in WhatsApp groups, in Facebook posts, in the whispers of his peers. Some had paid bribes, others had uncles in high offices. But for people like him, there was only prayer and waiting, and both seemed useless now. One night, Kwame sat outside under the mango tree behind their house. The air was heavy, and the moonlight painted the yard in silver. He watched a group of young men chatting nearby, boys his age, laughing over bottles of beer and cheap cigarettes. He recognized one of them, a former classmate who had joined a cyber fraud group. He was now driving a car. Life no balance, Kwame thought bitterly. Those breaking the law are living like kings, and those who followed the rules are dying slowly. A part of him was tempted to give up, to do anything just to survive. But another voice inside him said, "That's not who you are." Still, the darkness was closing in. Nights felt longer, mornings heavier. Depression crept in like smoke through a crack. One morning, his mother found him sitting outside, staring blankly at the sky. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Kwame," she said softly, "don't let this kill you. God hasn't forgotten you." Kwame forced a smile. "Maybe, Mama," he replied quietly, "but sometimes it feels like gonna has." Her eyes filled with tears. "My son, if the government refuses to help, help will come from God. Don't lose your mind before your miracle." Kwame nodded, but deep down, he wondered how much longer he could hold on. Hope had become a painful burden, one he carried because letting it go felt like death itself. Every evening, he prayed, not for riches, not for comfort, but for strength to survive another day in a country that had forgotten its own children. It was one hot Tuesday afternoon in July, when a faint wind of change began to blow through Kwame's life. Not a big change, but a whisper, the kind that tells you life has not finished speaking yet. He was sitting under the old mango tree behind the house, his CVS scattered beside him, when a message popped up on his phone. It was from his old university friend, Ama Owusu, now working with a small private clinic in Kumasi. "Kwame, my boss needs a temporary lab assistant for 3 months. The pay is small, but it's something. Are you interested?" For a moment, Kwame couldn't breathe. His heart pounded as he reread the message. "Small pay," he whispered. "At least it's not zero." He didn't think twice. He borrowed money from his mother for transport, packed his faded shirts and his certificates, and the next morning, boarded a trot road to Kumasi. The clinic was small, just 2 rooms, one rusty microscope, and an old refrigerator humming in the corner. But to Kwame, it felt like heaven. He worked hard, arriving early, cleaning, organizing, assisting patients, doing lab tests. The pay was modest, but each time he received it, he sent part home. His mother's voice on the phone would tremble with pride. "Kwame, may God bless your hands. You've made your father smile again." For the first time in years, Kwame began to feel useful. He could feel his spirit stirring again. He no longer sat all day waiting for miracles. He was doing something. But still, the reality of Ghana's broken system followed him. The clinic's owner complained about heavy taxes, frequent power cuts, and the difficulty of getting government contracts. "This country," he said one day, "makes it hard for honest people to survive." Kwame only nodded, knowing the truth in those words too well. Sometimes, while walking home after work, he would pass large billboards of smiling politicians promising youth employment, and he would mutter, "You remember us only when you need votes." One evening, after closing from work, Ama told him about a new campaign, an online movement of unemployed professionals advocating for fair recruitment. They were writing petitions, creating awareness, and demanding transparency from the ministry. "You should join," she said. "You're a good writer. Your story can help others." That night, Kwame stayed awake, typing his thoughts on an old laptop. He wrote about his struggles, his hopes, and the pain of being ignored by the system. His words were raw, honest, and full of emotion. He posted it online, thinking no one would notice. But within days, the post went viral. Thousands shared it. Other unemployed graduates commented, telling their own stories. Some journalists reached out. For the first time, Kwame's pain had found a voice, and people were listening. When his mother called him that weekend, her voice was full of tears. "Kwame," she said softly, "the radio was talking about your story. You've spoken for many who are suffering. I'm proud of you." Kwame smiled, his heart warm. For the first time in years, he felt something stronger than pain, purpose. He realized that though the government might have forgotten them, their stories could not be buried. Their struggles had power. And as he walked home that evening, the sunset painted the sky gold. The wind felt different, lighter, freer. Kwame looked up and whispered, "Maybe the sun still remembers me after all." More is yet to come on this channel, but for this story, here is where he is still stuck. If life gets better, the story will continue.